We have our next speaker in Sri Kumar Gaurav. He is the Senior Advisor, Climate Change and Circular Economy at GIZ India. He's been working on the project. He's the project manager of Waste Solutions for Circular Economy in India. It's a project funded by NAMA facility. So over to you. We would like to hear from you.
Honorable Chair and dignitaries on the dais as well as off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Kumar Gaurav. I am Senior Advisor, Climate Change and Circular Economy in GIZ India. GIZ is German Development Agency. We work on behalf of the German government with the Government of India, different ministries as partners to implement solutions across different sectors, including climate change and waste management, in which we have this project. It's a project funded by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action, as well as the European Union. So it's very nice to go after the speaker who talked about the European Union policies on promotion of biogas. So NAMA facility, I'd just like to share a brief about them. It's a multi-donor fund where different developed countries, they pool their funds and they call for proposals every year. And it's a competition out of which we got this project approved in 2020. And it was a very competitive process. We had 85 applications from all over the world. And we were one of the 5 projects that got shortlisted and got the funding. So the project is of 5 years duration from September 2020 to August 2025. The aim is to support implementation of 4,500 tons per day of waste processing capacity. So this is slightly beyond CBG. It includes all fractions of municipal solid waste, including the dry waste, wet waste, and domestic hazardous waste. The aim of the project is to reduce emissions, and over the 5 years duration, we aim to reduce around 1.2 million tons of CO2 equivalent. This is because of multiple reasons. One of the reasons is that if the waste is landfilled, then a lot of methane emissions come out of the landfill, and methane is 29 times more harmful than carbon dioxide in terms of causing global warming. And the other part of emission reduction is also because of recycling. So in the project, we are promoting recycling, and every ton of recycled plastic, paper reduces certain amount of energy consumption that would have gone into production of virgin materials. And that delta, the difference between the emissions that are caused in recycling process and the emissions that are caused in production of a virgin material, is the emission reductions that we are able to calculate and attribute to the project. There are 2 partner ministries, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, because it is a climate finance project. So MOEFCC is our nodal ministry. And Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, because the waste management sector is, municipal solid waste management sector comes under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So we have these 5 pilot project locations. We call them lighthouse cities, because whatever we are going to implement in these cities, the aim is to replicate and upscale the solutions in other cities of the country. And they were selected based on various parameters, including proximity to, including the level of waste management processing capacity, proximity to cement plants, because we have one component on RDF, refuse derived fuel as well. And the aim is to replicate in at least 10 more cities during the course of the project. The project objective is to basically transform the waste management sector to a low carbon waste management sector. And the technologies that we are focusing on are composting, biomethanation, material recovery facility, refuse derived fuel, which is used in cement kilns. So we are not so supportive of waste to energy projects, because combustion based waste to energy projects have challenges in terms of the emissions that come out, and also it doesn't support recycling, which should be the ideal course of treatment of dry fraction of municipal solid waste. So our project has this thesis of working at different levels of the government. So starting with the urban local body level, we provide grant and technical assistance to the urban local body so that they can set up these municipal solid waste management facilities. Then we promote source segregation, because source segregation is kind of like the main issue in terms of why we are not able to manage the wet waste and dry waste properly. Because if it's not source segregated, then it is not fit for either biogas production or composting, and also for recycling. So we promote source segregation through our partner NGOs, and based on our work so far, we have been able to establish that if you engage an organization to promote source segregation, the value that you get in terms of segregated waste and the recycled content and biogas potential is sufficient, or actually more than the expenditure on promoting source segregation. So it's not something that's a not-for-profit and only a grant mode that it should be done. It can be even done as a commercial activity, that you promote source segregation and then make sure that the waste gets treated. Secondly, we do a lot of informal sector integration, because waste management sector has around 1 to 2% of the urban population in India is informal, is involved in informal waste management. So we try and integrate them in the formal waste management systems, because when the waste management system gets formalized and it's very efficient, then there is not much waste available for the informal sector to collect and sell. Also, a lot of formalization is happening in the country in terms of recycling, in terms of waste management. So they should not get left out and shouldn't be marginalized. We do a lot of capacity building activities at the ULB level, because ULB have a very frequent staff changes and other issues that needs capacity building support. At the state and national level, we basically work on developing standards, guidelines, so that other cities and project developers can use those guidelines and standards to implement the projects. Even for urban local body officials, if they have to set up a project, what should they refer to? So there should be some national level guideline or standard to refer. Then the third component, which I believe would be most relevant for the participants here, is called the risk sharing facility. It is the debt guarantee program that in the previous session our colleague from SIDBI mentioned about, and it's an active operational risk sharing facility that all of you who are interested can avail. I'll talk about in detail about the RSF in next slide. I'll just talk about these technologies that we are supporting. So we are supporting this biomethanation technology, which we are here for, actually the CBG technology. This project is in Bangalore by Carbon Masters, so we are very happy to partner with them. They are already going to be a beneficiary from the risk sharing facility. They have applied. And then we have composting facilities. They are quite common, but there is a lot of challenge in economic viability of composting. And there are certain subsidies, but still efficient composting process, improvements in the process can be beneficial, and we are supporting that. Refuse-derived fuel is anything that is not economically viable to recycle currently, or it is too contaminated. So it's out of a foundation that we have to manage it, that we are supporting it as a alternative fuel in the cement factories. And material recovery facility is where you segregate PET, HDP, LDP, different fractions of waste, and send it to different recyclers so that it can become new product. These are the capacity building and awareness activities that we do. So we do source segregation promotion with partner NGOs. We promote home composting, because home composting, if you're doing, then by default your waste gets segregated and only dry waste mostly goes out. We promote a lot of community composting, because in many cities the centralized processing plants don't have the capacity to manage the entire waste. And a lot of informal sector capacity building. As you can see, this is one of the MRFs where we are doing a training program for the informal sector. So coming back to the risk sharing facility, it's a facility that GIZ and NAMA facility has given to SIDBI to implement. We have an agreement, grant agreement with SIDBI. So we have provided a corpus of 4.1 million euros, and this can be increased based on the success of the facility. Out of this corpus, there's some amount, some bit of corpus, and there's a 3% management fee above it, which is for SIDBI's operational cost. And we provide two types of guarantees. We provide 50% guarantee to small companies which have a turnover of under 25 crores, and 25% loan guarantee to larger companies with more than 25 crores turnover. And there are no restrictions in terms of loan type. So you can apply for a term loan if you are setting up a new facility. You can apply for a working capital. You can apply for letter of credit, bill discounting facility, all the 4 types of financing. We actually did a pre-launch event of the RSF last year, and it was well attended. We had the SIDBI chairman addressing the gathering, the director from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and our funding like organizations, the German Embassy, European Union delegation, and lot of around 35 waste management companies participated in that event and talked about the challenges that they are facing in terms of like mobilizing financing for their companies. And we signed the agreement last year in September. There were some approval processes involved with the RBI, and now we are fully operational. So in the last few months, we have been able to issue in-principle guarantee for these companies. Nepra is a waste management company based in Ahmedabad, which is into dry waste sorting. So they operate automated MRF in Ahmedabad and in few other cities. So they have applied for a working capital loan of 5 crores and there is a 25% loan guarantee. Carbon Masters is present here. We heard Som and Kevin. So they have also applied for a working capital and a term loan debt guarantee. GPS Renewables is another EPC player, as well as they are setting up their own biomethanation facility. So they have applied for a 14 crore working capital loan, to which we are providing 25% guarantee. MSGP Infra is a Bangalore-based project developer. They have a 150 tons per day CBG plant coming up in Bangalore. So they have also applied for a term loan guarantee. And Green Tech Enviro is into large composting facilities. So they have applied for a working capital loan for multiple composting facilities that they operate in the country. So far we have committed around half of our corpus, and we have been able to, we estimate that around 7.1 million euros we would be able to enable in terms of unlocking debt financing for these companies. And we really look forward to more developers coming to us and applying for these risk sharing, for this risk sharing facility support. This is the operational flow of the risk sharing facility process. I don't want to get into detail, but just to highlight that there is a expression of interest that the company has to give to us. And along with that, we expect a DPR or some kind of project details. If it's an operational company, then last few years of financials. And then based on that, we are able to, in partnership with SIDBI, we are able to give an in-principle approval. There is an internal committee that approves that. And then you apply for a loan, and we interact with the bank or the NBFC that you are applying to and try and give the final guarantee. I don't want to go into the details, but it's a very well-planned process, and we are almost at the cusp of closing the first guarantee with Carbon Masters and the 5 companies that I mentioned. So we would be able to talk more in detail if you're interested during the lunch or later. Yeah, so this is all the operational flow details, and I would like to close. Thanks a lot for your kind attention.